Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Your kitty was so cute.
She thinks that she owns my life, and she's right. And like, she's like, interview people. Oh boy, I'll make sure they get a good view of me. I did like this online class last year for like a year, and they got to know her really well because they were like, "Oh, it's Princessy! Look, there she is." But she's like, "Here, I'll just like moon everybody too." But her name is Princess.
Of course.
Yeah, she's my rescue.
Oh, God bless
yep.
you.
Yep. She actually is kind of a funny story because I rescued her mom, and then I brought her to my house, and she had 7 kittens. And yeah, wasn't a small litter. And and she was one of them. And she I'll never forget the day she like, I don't know, she was only about probably 3 or 4 weeks old, and I seen her look up at me, and it was just like, I pick you. And she jumped into my arms. And she's been she is my everything. So yes, she's my best friend. But she's also a brat, but oh well.
We have to spoil our loved ones. I believe
yes. She is like I call her my co-writer, my co-director, my co-everything. Whatever I do, she does. Do you have any pets?
I wish I think it's psychosomatic. I really do. I grew up with a dog, and when I was about 10 years old, she died. And I swear to you, ever since then, I've been allergic to anything with fur on it. I'm not kidding. Anything.
Oh, yeah. That is terrible.
Right? Yeah. So I'm just like super into like, believing this theory because like I have like all these pictures. I'm like sitting on her, trying to ride the poor girl, like, as a little kid. I'm like, this is my pony. But ever since then,
I have one other cat named Gracie, and that's actually her oldest sister that I got. So when I found Mommy, she was actually at my place of employment, and she'd already had 2 kittens, and I got the 2 kittens before I got Mommy, and by the time I got Mommy, she was pregnant. And so I have her older sister, and yeah, and then we've had dogs, but we recently lost both of our Australian Shepherds. So yeah, they were old though, very very old. We keep our animals like most of our cats live to be between 19 and 21. And so
wow, God bless. That's amazing.
It is.
Sign of a good loved life. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. They were like, yeah, because I had another cat named Bree, and she lived until she was 19, almost 20. And then our 2 Australian Shepherds, one was 17 and one was about 17 and a half. So yeah, we stick it out. We commit. And they do too, obviously. They're like, why go anywhere? This is my house.
Exactly, right? Exactly. Yeah, where you get that, good feeling, just wants to make you just stay there. And
yep.
Yeah. Oh, good for you.
Yes, I love them. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to segue this because I want to try to keep, because I thought this was interesting, so I'll try to keep a little bit of this in, and we'll segue into the love I see you put into your film.
Yes. I put love in a lot of things, including my films, not just my cat.
It shows.
Good. I'm glad about that.
I was so floored on many levels. Okay. So number one, I love the cinematography. Yes, and there had to be some good color grading in there as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, and that's my adopted son, that he does that, and he did amazing. Yes.
Can you rent him out?
Yes. Well, I can, but he is, oh my goodness. And I mean, he's old. He's now my business partner too. So, but he is, when I say he is phenomenal at the color grading, it's mind blowing what he can do. And he's only done like a couple of classes, but he never went to school or anything like that for it. So it's
Wow.
all natural.
What's his name? We have to give him some
Luke
credit.
Flowers. Luke Flowers. So yes.
Beautiful. Yes. No, wonderful job. Amazing. Didn't even go to school for it, just a couple of classes.
Yep. Yep.
Wow. It
He
looks
is.
stunning.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no, seriously. This is like a tip to everybody out there. Like, seriously, if you can't afford Luke or if you don't have an adopted son with the same capacity,
Yes.
color grading is a good investment, a good,
Yes.
yeah,
It
marker. No,
makes or breaks.
totally,
Yep.
totally. It really looks just phenomenal. And the cinematography, let's go there. Yes.
Oh, that is my friend BG Moore. BG Moore. And so he has been in my life. Well, we started out making a movie together called From Ashes. That was 13, almost 14 years ago. And so we've developed a really close friendship and everything like that. And so he was our cinematographer and he did phenomenal. Again, have your best friend and your son do everything. And it's just great. And it's a team thing. And because I can look at BG and go, meh. And he'll be like, I'll get it. And because he knows my mind. And of course, we planned everything prior, like, except there's a couple of shots in there. But we got together, we storyboarded, we figured out exactly what we wanted, what messages we want to, portray. I'm very into like subliminal messaging in my films and like certain like close-ups and things like that. I'm very detail oriented in that area. And so then he comes along and goes, I think I can do this and this and this. And then we work together great as a team. And he did phenomenal. And again, I'll keep him in my life. I'm very spoiled.
That's awesome. No, I love your energy and I really love like talk about subliminal, just the message that you're sending out, that it's all about communication, right? So how did you start speaking? We touched on their schooling. Is that the path you took? Did you
No.
or did Go
Nope.
ahead.
I actually now BG did. He went to school. But no, so when I was about 21, I was kind of like, I don't know what to do with my life. But I was heavy into like metal music, and I was heavy into, yes, I was metalhead. I did a lot of band stuff. I brought in a lot of bands. We worked with a lot of bands, all that kind of stuff. And a band came out called Demon Hunter, my favorite band in the whole world. They actually released a song, and I was like 21 and I was like, I see a music video to that. I wonder if I could do that. And I'd always loved story since I was a little kid. I was severely dyslexic. So you can't read anything I wrote when I was little, but I always was telling a story. I wouldn't talk much, but I would tell you what was wrong in a movie. I could tell you like, oh, they need to make this clear. Oh, they didn't do that right. Oh, they should have done this. And I was always picking apart film. And so the song came out for Demon Hunter and I was like, let's do a music video. And so I emailed the band. They were like, sure, use the song. And that was my first short. And that was 20 years ago. And after that, I kind of, I did multiple like video contests. I did multiple things like that. And then I dived into the deep end and was like, I'm going to do a feature. It's called From Ashes, 101 Ways Not to Make a Movie. But, but we did it and I learned everything. But that's where I got Luke. And that's where I got BG, and that's where I got some of my best friends. And that's where we developed a team. And then from that, we did a couple other things. a couple other shorts, and then I actually ended up getting really, really sick. That's a long story. But I took a break from film. And while I was doing film, when I was healing, I actually was like, I can't not write. So I was like, I'll write a book. So I wrote a book, and it's called Life After. And and when I got better, BG sent me down and he's like, hey, Autumn, could we like turn one of those chapters into a short film? And I was like, I don't know, Beej. And he's like, I think, and I was like, well, maybe. And then that's where Life After came from. So
wow. And you don't have to answer anything you don't want to.
Okay, that's fine. I'm pretty open.
Okay. But just like in the email I sent you and what I saw in your movie is just like this courage, this bravery, this survivorship, turned warriorship.
Yes. Yeah.
So what was the thought process? Because it seems to me like creative but also deliberate. Like it's a decision, it's a leap I think individuals have to make from, okay, I was hurt, okay, I suffered through something,
Yeah.
Not of our own choosing.
Yep.
And it's a bridge we have to cross into saying, that's not who I am.
Yes.
That's not who I have to stay.
Yes.
And there's a next chapter for me.
Yeah.
So what were those moments like for you? How did you channel it? How did you decide? Anything from there.
Okay. This is like, and I've actually got this question a couple of times. There's like, how, as a survivor, how can you even make a movie like that? And it's like, I'm healed. So I want other people to have that healing. I want other people to have that freedom. I want them to know they're not alone in their suffering and their pain and everything they faced. They do not have to do it alone. And I think even as like when it happened to me, I suffered alone for so long, and I lived in so much shame and guilt. And it was time for me to break free from that. Now I am a Christian, so I do believe that my Lord and Savior healed me and restored me, and he made me new. But he also used people to heal me, to bring about that healing. And it was learning for me to even voice my pain. And then I had actually, when I started to vocalize my pain, I had so many people come up to me and say, I thought I was the only one. I thought I was it. And then I've had several of my male friends who that exact same thing happened to them, and they live in guilt and shame. And I kind of looked around and I was like, I see so many victims, so much brokenness, so much pain, so much suffering. And I started to like, I got completely honest in my script when I sat down and I wrote that scene. I literally wore my heart on my sleeve. Every single feeling that was in my head made it into that film. And I decided to take that and say, you know what Satan used to destroy me, I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to use it for the kingdom of God. And I'm going to bring redemption and freedom to somebody else, because that's what the walk of Christ is about anyway, is to lay down your life for another person. And so I was like, it's time to step forward. I am healed and I want that healing for everyone else. Does that mean it was easy? No. There was a couple moments of when we were filming Life After that I had to step back and go, all right, Jesus, you set me apart, and you're going to have to help me get through this. And so that did happen a couple of times, and it happened to a couple of my other crew members that were like, this was a lot. And but again, it was all worth it in the end. I have seen so much healing and so much, I don't know, I've seen so much fruit from that. It's been incredible. And so I wouldn't have it any other way, but I'm very much into like the saints, like Saint Patrick and Saint Columba and all that kind of stuff. And their lives of bravery have inspired me to be brave. Like, it really, I watch it as a model of how I should live my life in bravery. And so I chose to fight my battle through film, though, instead of like not like druids or anything, but I chose my battle on the state on the screen technically. So and so I love it. Now I do say that, like, when I was writing the book for Life After, so someday we're going to turn that into a 5-part episodic, and you will hear the rest of this. Yep. And but there was a lot of also other turmoil going on in my life at that time. I had faced a couple surgeries. I had a doctor mess up. I had a lot of pain, and I worked through a lot of that in my script, and my book, and you can definitely feel it a couple times how angry I was. But anyway.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's really the process.
Wow. It really, like, we can get really spiritual here and just like break it down into the simplicity of like, whenever you have a human being trying to do good, there the enemy will be trying.
Yes.
That's when they break out the big guns, right?
Oh my goodness.
Let you just have it all.
Oh, there's times where so right before making Life After, I was on the fence with it. I'm gonna be completely honest. We were like, we're gonna do it, and then I'm like, I don't know. And I was with one of my really good friends. He's actually now my other business partner, Isaac. And we were sitting there, and he was like, so basically, why aren't you making Life After? And I said, I feel like I've been born with a target on my butt, and I barely survived that last attack, and I don't know if I can do it again. And then a couple minutes, like probably an hour or so later, he himself has faced a lot of pain, and he fell off a plane. There's a lot.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And so he made the choice to live again. And we were having this moment. I was like, Isaac, so what made you want to live again? And he goes, and he's kind of, it's like basically gives this answer of like, we got to keep moving forward and, all that stuff. And I said, well, you can't let the pain keep you from what you're called to do. And he looked at me, and I was like, I just gave myself my own advice, didn't I? And he's like, and so and he goes, what are you going to do? And I said, make a movie. And so I get it.
I love it.
So those are little random cute stories.
Which is, I also think, is important and kind of subliminal for anybody watching too. I think a lot of times in life, we run into the people that we do, so we could soak up that reflection that they're beaming back at us, right? Our own mirror is who we're running into. Yeah, like
I agree completely. Well, it's a defined moment in your life that they come into your life and change your destiny. Really, that's really what it is. And I say it's part of the scroll. That's what my motto is, which means it's part of your destiny. It's part of how Christ wrote it in your scroll. And so so that's definitely, I agree completely.
Wow. No, beautifully put. So you said something interesting there too. You're going to make like episodics instead of one film. Is there a strategy to that? Is it just better told that way? Are you thinking Netflix likes miniseries better?
Well, okay,
do it all.
do share. Okay, so here's my thought. I love episodics. But I'm a British girl. I love British TV. It's what inspires me. I love every part of British, and British does a lot of episodics, and they do a lot of short mini series, which I love and I enjoy. And I feel like you get to the heart of your story, and there's so much detail in Life After that I don't want to rush through it. I want to take the time to see the hero's journey. I want to take time to show their relationship and their friendship. I want to take time for you to see their past and what they went through and how they came out of it. And so that's why I really want people to get like engulfed in their stories. And so I thought a 5-part series was probably the best way to go. So it'll go like present, past, present. And so and then like kind of interswitch. There is like I have a lot of writing to do. I have a lot of it done, but I also have a lot to do. So I'm halfway there, and and so that's our goals. It's really exciting. I get really excited about it, and then I'm like, and then I take there's a lot of special little things that I won't go into, but so like one of my favorite series is actually Broken. Now I already wrote Life After when it came out, but it's a BBC 5-part miniseries, and it's phenomenal. It's one of the best things I've ever watched in my life. Wow. I could go on because I'm like, I love Shetland, I love Endeavor, I love Line of Duty. There's like so many.
Awesome. Yeah. No, there's something so elevated. I don't mean to downplay American drama, of course.
Please do.
Well, listen, let's run this back on your project, because
okay,
for people that are not in the festival and haven't seen it, they just see the trailer. Like, you're giving it all here. Like that, you touch on everything, on on rape, on homosexuality, on church issues. It's not like for the faint of heart. It's not for the, I want a nice little love story, know.
No. It's pretty serious.
Yeah, you did not hold back. So I'm wondering if this British slant is what kind of.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I got to be honest. Like, people are like, they ask me all the time. I'm like, I watch British TV. We're serious. We're emotional. We're dark. And it's like, it's highly inspired everything I've touched. I love it because it does go to the next level of human emotions, where I feel like Americans hang out like right here, where Brits go down here. And I in a writing class, I call it, the writing class I did, they called it the third level of emotion. I want to hit that third level, that deep level. And I mean, I'm all right with a lighthearted movie. That's fine for some people, but for me and my storytelling, I wanted that next level of emotion, the deep ones, the ones that we are so afraid to talk about. But the British do seem to be okay with talking about it, and which is, I find, very interesting. And that is, I do think we've done really well in like Britain and Europe, and I do think that is the reason why, is because they're okay with that.
Interesting.
My favorite show ever created by Brits is actually Patrick Melrose with Benedict Cumberbatch. And now that has like dark humor and real serious. And it's deep. Oh my gosh, it is so deep. But they mix humor in with this really dark story. And sometimes you're like, should I be laughing at this? And you're like, that's really funny. But man, that's sad. And and I love that. I love that kind of paradox of mixing emotions that a lot of people can't do. And the Brits do it.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like I said, even with this comedy, you were like, taken aback a lot. But yeah, no, that's just brilliant how you were just brave enough to go there. So it's great that you drew from all these influences, right? And no, it really shows. I have to compliment you on this work. Yeah, no. Also, brave choice to act in it as well.
Oh, I didn't act in it.
No? I could have sworn that's you.
No.
All right. right? I'll
No, that was the. So are you talking about the lead Abby?
yeah, yeah.
No, that's not me.
No,
Nope.
you guys look much alike.
She's
Nobody's ever
like,
told you that?
no, but we do have curly hair and everything. So,
You look
which
so much alike.
so
Oh,
weird.
wow.
That's a huge compliment because I think she's beautiful.
You're both beautiful. I thought you were the same person.
No, no, she's definitely so. Actually, Abby and Jordan are married in real life. My two leads.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and then the little girl we used is actually their daughter.
Wow.
Yes, and so yeah, it's kind of like we kept it in the family.
Totally. Yeah. Behind the scenes and on the screen.
Yes.
That's
And I
amazing.
do think that that is one of the reasons, like, I mean, I think they did phenomenal. But there was a vulnerability to their performance that they were able to be that vulnerable because they're married and because there's already that human level of connection with them that they could. I don't know. I thought it was perfect for them. And so but they're I love them so much. They're like they're incredible. They're just good people too. So and I love like all my actors like Darren and Brenda and River and Keith. They all were great. And so
That's amazing. Yeah, no, seriously, just tell them kudos because no, it was marvelous. Now let me ask you that. How did you find them? Because, everybody
I live
that's
in Indiana. Where'd you get your good actors?
no. Well, not only that, like, because like everybody, I think, everybody, Instagram made everybody an actor, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
everybody's hamming it up, but to actually find good ones anywhere, I think is
Especially in the small indie world, it is hard. And really, honestly, there again, I'm going to go back to something I during all this, I prayed through everything. And I remember saying, all right, God's kingdom come, God's will be done. If this is his will, then he will provide me such and such. And so at one point I said, Lord, if this is your will, I am not going to make a movie with bad actors and I need you to provide. And so in walks actually, so BG, my DP, knew Darren Lee Cup, which is my bad guy. And so he knew him. And so he's like, hey, Autumn, I really think you should audition Darren. And I was like, okay. And so and even though he wasn't what I technically had originally had and planned in my mind, I was like, I think I can see that. So I reached out to Darren. I auditioned him. There was a couple other people that I auditioned, but we loved Darren. And so afterwards, I literally asked, I said, hey, Darren, the actor that you're going to be acting with, you're going to have to be really comfortable with. Who do you recommend? Give me 10 names. And so he gave me 10 names. And so Jordan was on that list. And I'd worked with, I'd met Jordan one other time on another separate project that I'd helped on. But I'd never thought of him for Isaac. I just hadn't. And I don't know why, I just didn't. But it'd been a while since we'd even seen each other. And so I reached out to Jordan and then to several other people on the list, and they all submitted auditions. And the moment I saw Jordan, I was like, all right, I'm being paid not to do you, not to do you. And I was like, oh my gosh. Well, then I was like, hey, Jordan, I need an actress. And he goes, well, my wife acts. And she was not the ethnicity I wanted. I had originally wanted a biracial, curvy woman. And that was that's who Alex was in my mind. And I was like, he's like, she's not biracial and not curvy. And I was like, okay. I said, go ahead and have her audition. Just do. And so when I got her audition, I was like, well, I'd be crazy not to accept that. And plus the kiss gets to be real. And I was like, so I ended up, and then after that, Brenda, so the one that plays Mother Superior, she actually She was on my first original movie, From Ashes, the one that's 101 Ways Not to Make a Movie. But I had cast her first. And she had actually, we stayed friends after From Ashes, all that kind of stuff. And she knew I wanted to do this. And so she volunteered. And she also knew my history and my story and all that kind of stuff. And so the role to her was at a different level because she also knew my background. And so, and she's also a believer, and she's an amazing woman. And I love Brenda. I could not have done it without her. She was amazing. And so Brenda was the first and original cast member. And then, the hardest one we had to find was actually the little girl. And that happened after a read through. Abby was like, well, they have 4 kids, and she's like, I have a couple of girls, if and I was like, well, I'm not to sound creepy, but I was checking out your kids, but
Brenda does that.
I can we this, and so they ended up we cast River, and then Keith, which is the one that just throws the guy in. I actually had somebody else was supposed to be that part, and they kind of they flaked out, and but oh well. And I told Darren, and Darren got Keith for me, and like I wasn't even 30 minutes, and I had Keith. So,
Wow.
yeah, so it really all worked out perfectly. There's no one I would trade in. There's no one. They're all phenomenal. So yeah.
That's beautiful. See, no, and it just goes to show too. I always believe when there's a light in something,
Yeah,
God will provide.
yes,
Yeah.
And he honestly, like, we had to raise $15,000. We raised it in 3 months.
Wow.
Unheard of. And that was like, I have some really good friends. I have my pastor was incredible. But then I have some local people that I know in some churches here. They all got behind me. They let us fundraise through the church, all that kind of stuff. I had several churches support, which, I know it's a dark subject. I know it's not your typical Christian film. And so the fact that they even saw this and said, yes, we trust you, and if you believe in it, we want to be a part of it. It meant the world to me. And so that was another thing that was absolutely phenomenal. We had so much support.
That is amazing. Yeah.
Yep.
See, yeah. No, that really is illuminating, on a few levels too, because like everybody's just thinking, and I think that's dangerous too, that, it's just like, yeah, like, we just have to be happy all the time or whatever. And then it's like, yeah, of course, be grateful to God, but we also have to point out, when something sinister is happening, right? I mean,
yes,
yeah,
it is. That to me, like, I had another interview with another film festival, and they asked me, like, as a Christian, yet you chose to show the abuse in the church. And I said, well, if I ignore the problem, then I'm part of the problem.
right.
And then I said, and on the flip side of that, I actually chose to show both sides of religion. I chose to show the side that harms and hurts and damages, but then yet they're in the church and they are Christians, and they brought healing to each other. I showed both sides of religion. I showed both sides, and I'm not going to shy back from that. And that's just how I also, like, I see a lot of films out there, they preach a false gospel, come to Christ, everything gets great. I'm sorry. When I came to Christ, my life fell apart. I mean, my abuse happened when I was saved. So what do we do with that? What do we do with when we are saved? What do we do with our brokenness and our sad and our hurt and our pain when we pretend we should be perfect? But what do we do after that? Christ is close to the brokenhearted. He's there for us, whether we're saved or where we're not saved. But just because you come to Christ doesn't mean life gets great. I mean, Christ died on the cross, and guess what? If we're going to suffer like he does, then that means we are going to suffer like he does. And so, those are all things. And I'm on a rant. Okay, I'll stop.
No. I think of, I've been going through a lot as well. And as you heard firsthand today. But, that's what life is about, like relating to, the sufferings of Christ, and even I think for non-believers, I think it's important for them to hear that we're not just saying, shiny, happy people holding hands, because then they look at that and that's like so unrealistic. And, and, and I always think about it as, silver needs to be purified, right? Gold needs to be purified, rarefied, whatever the process is. So I just think, we all walk through the fire to get to that person who we need to be. Yes. And Bible never said it was easy and sunshine and roses.
No. In fact, pretty sure almost everybody was martyred. And and I mean, we get through life because we have a savior. I think that's the other thing is, I know my life, I would have died had it not been Christ's intervention. I know I would not have survived without him. I know that. And to have him to rely on and to have him next to me, I wouldn't be here, or I wouldn't have made a film about what I made a film about. I wouldn't have, had he not healed and restored and made me new. And I don't know. I think it is. And I do think it's important for us Christians to show unbelievers what it really means to face hell and still live out your faith.
Yeah.
That's my motto. And I don't want to make a film about people coming to Christ. I want to make a film about what it means to maintain your faith when you're faced through those questions and that suffering and that pain.
Yeah. Because I think too, there's a lot in the asking of why, right? And I think that verse, knock and the door will be open. I think it's also an internal door, not just like, oh, knock and I want a new beach house,
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm knocking on that door. God, give me a beach house.
Amen.
It's like the opening the door to the answers to the questions that, I think you're only going to get them there. I think, but again, just brilliant movie. I sincerely hope we all get to see the 5-part series. I'm excited for it.
Pray for us.
Amen.
Yes. I really honestly and it means so much to me. Like, I can't stress this enough, to be able to hear your feedback and to hear you say those kind things. I still, in all of this, I'm still amazed by what God can do and how he took the ashes of my life and he created it beautiful. And so when I watch this movie, I see the ashes of my life. I see the pain and the hurt and the turmoil, and how his promise to turn that into beauty. Every single time I watch that movie is what I see. I see his promises fulfilled. Yeah. And so it means a lot to me to even hear feedback and all that. I still can't believe it. There's days where I'm like, I can't believe this. I'm amazed. I'm amazed by what he did and how he transformed it. I am. And I hope you get to see the 5-part episodic too.
I'm sure we will. Sure we will. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So you're working on this, you're writing. Is there something else you have going on as well? So
we actually we just moved forward with doing it's called Bleeding Heart, and it's a film to bring awareness to depression, suicide, and anxiety. And so it's only going to be about a 7-8 minute short. But that is the goals. We just cast our 2 leads. We're raising funds right now. That's why yeah. And so we're like trying to figure out some details and that kind of thing, but we look to shoot in either the end of, March or beginning sometime in April. It's a pretty special one for several of my, crew members. And it touches on a lot of those subjects of anxiety and depression and how to face it and how do we ask for help and how do we admit it. And so, but there's such a stereotype in that sometimes it's hard to admit it. And so, that's the next project.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now I have to ask you something else because you kind of brought it up too. Like just your area, like what is the film scene like there? Or are there 100,000 Autumns everywhere?
No, I live in Lafayette, Indiana. So, where Indiana is actually, it's got a pretty good film scene. Pretty good. Like we have some local filmmakers, mainly in Indianapolis, and so I'd say we're better than most states. Like my best friend lives in Washington State, and they do not have an active film scene there. So I say we have a pretty good active one. But again, it's kind of like hit and miss. For like I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I'm not much of a social, I'm not social. I'm very social, but no, like I'm not much of a networker. So like I'm like don't have all my hands in all of it, all the film groups and all that kind of stuff. I pretty much stick to the ones I know. And I'm still learning how to do that. It's probably the other thing is like, I'm not much, I don't know. I grew up in a mosh pit. I'm still learning how to.
I was the assistant editor of Metal Edge magazine, so I think we have a lot. Yeah.
You get it.
Oh yeah.
I grew up in a mosh pit. Like I truly like that is like how do I relate? I relate to band people. And so like we get our aggression out by the mosh pit. And I guess I would say it's good. It's a good, we have people, we have good actors, we have a good group and a solid scene to be involved in. And then we are close to other places like Louisville and Cincinnati and Chicago, where it's good enough to come back. Like the actor that I cast for the co-lead in Bleeding Heart is from Chicago. So we're good enough to like, we have a good range because we're kind of in the middle. Now Lafayette itself has a very small scene, but we're only an hour from Indianapolis. And so we have things like IFN, the Indiana Filmmakers Network, and things like that we can be a part. I was just at the meeting last night. And so, we have a pretty good scene is what I would say. Is it like Georgia or any of the, no, but we're a pretty tight knit little group. So there.